The James Webb Space Telescope has not disproved the Big Bang, despite an article about a pseudoscientific theory that went viral, mischaracterized quotes from an astrophysicist to create a false narrative that the Big Bang didn't happen. Although the James Webb Space Telescope has only been conducting science operations for a few months, it has already made some iconic discoveries, including the detection of what could be some of the earliest galaxies ever seen that existed just 200 million years after the Big Bang. Although issues with calibrating the instruments might mean that some of these galaxies are not as distant as first thought, James Webb Space Telescope has almost certainly broken the record with some of them. James Webb Space Telescope is designed to find the very earliest galaxies in the universe. One of the things that it found is that those galaxies are possibly more massive than we thought they would be, while another surprising thing is that it revealed that these galaxies have a lot of structure. We didn't think galaxies were this well organized so early in the universe. The first galaxies were formed through a hierarchical process involving small clouds of gas and clusters of stars coming together to form larger nascent galaxies. But these early galaxies seem a little more evolved than expected. James Webb Space Telescope observations is an intriguing astrophysical puzzle that confounds current models of galaxy growth. Kirkpatrick said, "I try to be a pretty forthright person. I meant what I said, that everything I had learned about the first galaxies based on previous telescopic data probably wasn't the complete picture. Now we have more data so we can refine our theories." Kirkpatrick went back to her research and forgot about her quote. That was, until mid-August, when she received a text from a friend saying that there was an article, originally published by an organization called the Institute of Art Ideas but now being republished on mainstream news sites, saying that James Webb Space Telescope observations of distant galaxies had disproved the Big Bang, which is not correct. Worse still, the article had taken what Kirkpatrick had told Nature and misused it out of context to give the false impression. Astrophysicists were panicking over the thought of the Big Bang theory being wrong. James Webb Space Telescope was designed not to see the beginnings of the universe, but to see a period of the universe's history that we have not seen yet before. Specifically, we want to see the first objects that formed as the universe cooled down after the Big Bang. That time period is perhaps hundreds of millions of years later than the one Planck were built to see. We think that the tiny ripples of temperature they observed were the seeds that eventually grew into galaxies. We don't know exactly when the universe made the first stars and galaxies, or how for that matter. The only way we can see back to the time when these objects were forming is to look very far away. Hubble isn't big enough or cold enough to see the faint heat signals of these objects that are so far away. The chemical elements of life were first produced in the first generation of stars after the Big Bang. We are here today because of them, and we want to better understand how that came to be. We have ideas, we have predictions, but we don't know. One way or another, the first stars must have influenced our own history, beginning with stirring up everything and producing the other chemical elements besides hydrogen and helium. The Big Bang theory crucially depends on the inflation hypothesis. At the outset, the universe expanded many orders of magnitude faster than the speed of light, but experiments have failed to prove evidence of cosmic inflation, and since the theory's inception it has been beset by deep puzzles. Astronomers have begun to report surveys of infrared visible galaxies, nominally among the first galaxies to exist after the Big Bang. The Big Bang occurred about 13.8 billion years ago. It is expected that it should have taken between 100 and 200 million years for the universe to cool off enough for stars to form. It is also possible that the reports are true, and it turns out that early galaxies, larger and better formed than current theory predicts. However, this doesn't have anything to do with disproving the Big Bang. It may require us to modify theories of how matter in the early universe assembled into galaxies. This would require some tweaking, but that's a far cry from rejecting the Big Bang entirely. These early reports use a simple algorithm involving a series of optical filters to determine the color of light from early galaxies. However, the James Webb Space Telescope has more precise spectrometers, allow astronomers to get more accurate determinations of the wavelengths of light emitted by these distant galaxies. Everyone wants to know what secrets James Webb Space Telescope will reveal about the universe, but reliable science takes time. Speculation does not. Everyone wants to know what secrets James Webb Space Telescope will reveal about the universe.